We love to feature the former players that have paved the way for this rich tradition here at the University of Alabama. You know, this time of the year, we always reflect a lot on homecoming and the spirit of homecoming and the atmosphere and the electricity, the energy building here in Tuscaloosa. And I don't know if there's any better way than to welcome one of our own, one of the Alabama legends of this wonderful University of Alabama. Coach Stallings and I was talking about Leroy Jordan yesterday on the program. He's written a book with Steve Townsend, which is great historian of Alabama football. Joe Namath has also wrote the foreword here, My Story of Faith, Family, and Football. Leroy Jordan, welcome back to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I hope you're doing well, sir.
Ryan, I am doing really well. So, man, it's good to talk to you again.
Absolutely. And you're going to be signing – let me make sure. I'm going to try to promote this several times. But you're going to be back at the Bryant Museum, and we're going to welcome you back to the Capstone. And that's going to be starting at 2 o'clock, 2 until 4 at the Bryant Museum on Saturday, the book that was published last year. And, Leroy, what do you want people to take from the book and kind of understanding your story? What do you want people, once they read it, to take from it?
Well, I want people to understand what, the family background and the ties to the church and everything that my parents had. And I want them to, know something about the background on Leroy Jordan. And I really did it for my grandkids and kids and everything, so they would have something to look back on what little circle of life I made.
Yeah, no doubt. And you picked a great guy like Steve Townsend. I love Steve to death. I worked for him for a few years, and he always made sure that I understood the importance in preserving the University of Alabama history. There's no better writer that I know than Steve Townsend. Just a great guy.
Steve was really good to work with, and I had known him for quite a few years, and so we had a natural connection, and so we just worked on it good, and I think it came out and told a story that I wanted to tell.
Well, and the front of it displays you and Coach Bryant, which Coach Bryant, as you can talk about, was so important to you, and I'm sure still is to this day as you reflect on the memories and the life examples that he showed us.
Yeah, the Coach Bryant and those coaches I met there with Gene Stallings and that group of first coaches there were exceptional in every way. They were exceptional people and cared about the players and wanted you to be the best person you could be.
Well, and help us understand, you have a chance to get to know Coach Bryant and Coach Stallings. This is not Leroy Jordan saying this. Coach Stallings reminded us of this of yesterday. He said Coach Bryant loved players like Leroy Jordan who left it all out on the field. And Coach Stallings was sharing some memories of your ties with him, but he said Coach Bryant loved players like Leroy Jordan. When they walked off, the last second of the fourth quarter had expired. There was nothing left in the tank when Leroy walked off that field.
Well, I tried to leave it all out there, and that was, my background as far as my family and Coach Bryant's teaching along the way. So I tried to leave it all on the field every day in practice and every game.
How much fun was it for you personally as you recall? Because you know the memories, but when you're forced to kind of recall those and retell those stories, how much fun was this for you doing the book and to be able to recall some of those great memories?
It was great, going back and refreshing memory on some of the games and a lot of the people that I had met. And, we got 23 or 24 segments in it by teammates and coaches and high school coaches and stuff like that. So it really had some other enlightening moments, with people in my life.
Let me talk about a couple of those, because Roger Staubach is somebody that you still do business with today. You built a team friendship out on that football field, but that relationship still continues today.
Yes, we're still very good friends, and that was the way with the NFL football back then. You didn't play for 4, 5, 6 teams. You went and made it family deal, and you played your career with that same team, and that's what it turned out to be with me and Roger, and a lot of my friends, Bob Lilly and Walt Garrison, and people like that. We have not only been friends for life, but we were teammates for life.
Don Meredith was another guy that mentioned in the book.
Yes, Don Meredith was. I was kind of recruited to be his roommate and get him in curfew on time. Coach Landry asked me if I'd do it. He said, "Don respects you a lot. Would you try it?" I said, "Yes, I will. I don't know how successful I will be, but I would try it, certainly."
Now, there's got to be a fun story there. There's got to be a fun story of you trying to make sure that you keep him in line.
Yeah, there is one. I only lost him one time in 6 years, so I was a all-world record setter for getting Don in curfew on time.
Now, somewhat reminds me, I've got to ask about your roommates in the NFL, because they say that this is a really good story. Your roommates in the NFL.
Well, Roger Staubach and Don Meredith. I had the pleasure of rooming with some great guys, Dan Reeves, and I roomed with Walt Garrison in a little while. And so I had a pleasure of working with some great guys and rooming with some great guys.
Because of your football play, I mean, you ever think about a guy that is from the state of Alabama, Leroy Jordan, make their way through the legendary Crimson Tide football program? We are the standard, to have a chance to go and play for the Dallas Cowboys, led you to other opportunities and other avenues. My understanding is also you had a good friendship with Elvis Presley.
Yeah, I did. I got to meet him and make several of his concerts, and he was one of my heroes for life, I guess. And John Wayne was another one. John Wayne, I met him. He came to our practices out in California, and we had a great relationship. And we did one of the debuts of one of the movies there, Chisholm, in '76 in Dallas, Texas. And so he invited a group of us players down to come to the I don't know what
the premiere. Is it the premiere, like the initial showing?
Yeah, it was the premiere of the movie, and it was he gave us a rifle that he used is similar to the one that he used in the movie. So I've got that framed in my office, and so I've got a lot to look back on.
Wow! So John Wayne actually gave you a rifle that was, man, what a memento, Leroy Jordan.
Yeah, it was. The Winchester people made it, and it was the movie. It was like the one he used in the movie. The flipped down and cocked the rifle, and it's a beautiful gun, and I've got it displayed in my office.
Leroy, what was the coldest game you ever played? Because we're going to welcome football weather. I don't know if you're ready for Tuscaloosa, but, I mean, check this out. We're going to be in the 50s tonight. We're going to be in the 50s tomorrow night. And the rumor is that we may see the 60s, upper 50s, maybe game time on Saturday night. But what was the coldest game you ever played in? Not that we're going to be cold on Saturday night, but we're beginning to kind of get football weather here in Tuscaloosa.
Well, it goes back to being the Ice Bowl played up in Green Bay, and, it was unbelievable, 17 below zero when we woke up that morning, and it stayed that way all day. So it was about 17 below zero when we played the game, and that was certainly the coldest game, and I don't know why they didn't call it off, but I guess the commissioner was out in California and it was warm out there. So.
Leroy, I love the story that you share, and I don't know if this made the book, but the story that you share about the president going in the opposing locker room, and then you guys came out and were motivated because of that and allowed you guys to have some success?
Well, President Kennedy at the Orange Bowl, and he went out into the Oklahoma dressing room and, and talked to them before the game and was pulling real hard for them to win. And Coach Bryant used it a little bit to motivate us. We were already motivated, but he used it a little more before the game. So, and we ended up going up in the stands to flip the coin, and I won the coin toss, and I have that silver dollar to this day. So I've got it framed in my office.
And still a record at the University of Alabama, 31 tackles. 31 tackles in a game. That's even hard to imagine, Leroy Jordan. One game, 31 tackles.
Well, it was terrific. A lot of my teammates helped me make those tackles, and I got credit for probably some of their tackles. They were I was close by, so I got credit for some of them that I maybe didn't make by myself.
But now think about it, Leroy. Now see, you would understand this because that 1961 team that only gave up 25 total points, that you were one of the great leaders and the All-American here at the University of Alabama, the standard that was created then and even prior to those days, you could go back to the 40s and the 20s and all the great years. Yeah. We still hold that same standard to defense here. Like Nick Saban walked in on Saturday, Alabama gave up 31 points to Arkansas. He goes, well, I don't even feel like we won the game if we gave up 31 points. It's hard to feel like we beat somebody if we give up 31 points in a game. I know it's a different football, but that standard that you guys created, we still hold the players to accountable here in Tuscaloosa.
Yes, they are accountable, and I know that Arkansas has got some great offensive players, but Coach Saban, I knew he wasn't going to be happy with giving up that many points and everything. So, but we're so blessed to have an offense right now that Tua and Jalen Hurts are just doing a great job of playing themselves into our tremendous history books of the University of Alabama football.
Now, Leroy, this is an easy question. How would you stop Tua Tagovailoa in this explosive offense?
Man, I don't see it happening because we got a running game. It'll punish you with Damian Harris and the rest of the running backs and our offensive line, and with Tua and Jalen back there as quarterbacks, we're going to be hard to beat. I'll guarantee you that.
Hey, no doubt. And it's a lot of fun to watch these two, and as far as the great offense at the University of Alabama. Now, Leroy, I need you to do something for me, if you don't mind, before you come to Tuscaloosa.
What's that?
Can you go by, because you know this, you and I have talked about this. I'm a big Cowboy guy. Can you go by and give our Cowboys a pep talk a little bit? Can you go by and kind of fire them up before you come to Tuscaloosa?
Well, I don't think I have the right equipment to fire them up. So,
okay, all right. But
if they'd call me in for a pep talk and a coaching talk, I might put it on them,
Well, I'm screaming as loud as I can on Sunday afternoon. My wife will look at me because I watch the Cowboys every week. And she said, you sound so frustrated. And I said, I am. I'm watching my Cowboys, and they're just not doing what I want them to do.
Yeah. They're struggling right now, and I don't know until they can figure out the receivers and how to use Jalen, how to use our quarterback to the best of his ability. And I think he needs to be a lot more options and running plays and option to pass and all that kind of stuff. So I think they need to get him out of the pocket a lot more.
Hey, Leroy, let me flip the question. Final question is, we're talking to Leroy Jordan. He's going to be here at the University of Alabama at the Bryant Museum, which does an absolute fabulous job of collecting and preserving the exhibits there. They rotate. So make the Bryant Museum a part of your game day. Get there early, go through, and you'll see the wonderful history of the University of Alabama. Leroy Jordan's going to be there signing his book. It's simply called Leroy, My Story of Faith, Family, and Football. Leroy Jordan there with Steve Townsend, the foreword written by Joe Namath. He's going to be there from 2 until 4 on Saturday as we get ready to celebrate homecoming. Leroy, tell us a Coach Stallings story, because we love him so much here in Tuscaloosa, and we're glad that his health has rebounded. We feature him, every week to talk about Alabama football. Give us a good story about Coach Stallings.
Well, he's one of the great coaches that I've had the pleasure of being around. Probably I would not have had the career at Alabama or at Dallas Cowboys if he had been there. And he worked with me every day after practice and on catching the ball and being in position to intercept passes. And I think I still kind of have one of the records of interceptions by a linebacker. I think it's 32 in my career, and that was pretty high for linebackers. So he was a main part of that happening for me, because he worked with me every day after practice.
What did it mean for Joe Namath to write your foreword there?
It was real important. Joe, I called him, and he said, "Sure, I'd love to do it. I want to be a part of it." So him contributing to the book, and he knew that we weren't just out here to sell and make money, because we're going to put back to the Bryant Museum, and anything that this book makes is going back to the Bryant Museum and the scholarship in Dallas for students from that area.
From
it's
go ahead. No, I was going to say, from Excel, Alabama, to the Dallas Ring of Honor, the All-American, NFC Defensive Player of the Year. We could go on and on, but certainly an all-around great guy. Leroy Jordan, I appreciate you for helping us preserve the Alabama history. College Football Hall of Fame member, 1983. And like I said, the credentials go on and on and on. But I'm really looking forward to sitting down and reading the book, but looking forward to having you back on the campus of the University of Alabama for homecoming. It's a special time here, Leroy, in Tuscaloosa.
Ryan, I'm so thankful that you called, and man, I'm so glad to talk to you, and I hope I get to see you Friday or Saturday up there at the game time.